in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, this is Barb Bruno. I want to welcome you to our free webinar today. I try to do these free webinars every so often just to basically give you some training that is going to help you improve not only your income and your sales, but the way you're working your desk. I want you all to think for a moment of your year-to-date income so far. Basically, the year is half over. The first 2 quarters are behind us. We're entering the 3rd quarter next week. And what I'd like to ask all of you is, when you look at your year-to-date income, are you thrilled? Have you earned what you thought you were going to earn in the first 6 months of this year? Or is there room for improvement? Every single one of you listening to my voice, and we have a very large audience today, which makes me happy, because that shows that you have the desire to do better than you're doing. And the truth of the matter is, every one of you could produce more. Every one of you could achieve higher sales. Owners and managers, you can improve your profit, and you all can improve your income. Everybody can, but the question is, will you? Will you do what it takes? And so today what we're going to do is we're going to go through some keys of improving your production. We're going to go through some important points. And what I want all of you to do that are listening to me today, when I say something that resonates with you, write it down. So if I say something and you're thinking, boy, that's something I have to implement, that's something I have to do, write it down. Because if you want to get the most out of this call today, what I want you to do is write down 6 ideas that you plan to implement in the next 6 months. It takes 21 days to form a new habit. And so it's not enough just to show up for these calls. You have to make a commitment that you're going to change something. Because think about this a moment. If you continue working your desk the same way, managing your business, running your business the same way, you're going to get the exact same results in the next 2 quarters that you have enjoyed in these first 2 quarters. And for the record, the marketplace is extremely strong, except, the only exception right now is really oil and gas. They are still lagging behind everyone else. But with the exception of oil and gas, the marketplace is very strong. And I keep hearing everyone complain that it's so hard to find candidates. I just got back from a conference in Ohio, and it was the same thing there. It's so hard to find candidates. And what I said to every recruiter that I was training was, what you should do every night when you go home, you should get down on your knees and thank God that it's hard to find candidates. This is the marketplace where you make the most money. When it's a candidate-driven marketplace where the supply is low rather, and the demand is high, that's the best marketplace for all of you. So now is the time, and going into these next 2 quarters, it looks like nothing's going to change. Like everything is going to stay at this pace where, every report you read, every statistic I see, every economist I talk to is predicting a very strong, 3rd and 4th quarter of this year, which is very good for our business. So if you find yourself saying, it's so hard to find candidates, follow that up with, and I'm so glad it is, because people need me more than they've ever needed me before. You've got the perfect storm right now. You've got baby boomers retiring at record levels. You've got job satisfaction at record lows. I've been at this career for more than 30 years. I have never seen job satisfaction so low. Only 18% of people working are happy in their jobs and would not consider a change right now. That means over 82% of people working right now would make a change if given the right opportunity. They're sitting there waiting to hear from you. Think about that for a moment. And clients are beside themselves. I do half of my speaking in front of corporate and hiring authority and talent acquisition audiences. And what I'm hearing from them is that they need us more than ever, that not only hiring talent, but being able to retain talent is their biggest challenge. And where temporary and contract used to be, just something that some firms did, companies have a new business model where they have their core employees in the middle surrounded by temporary workers or contractors. And so, every marketplace out there now, direct placement, temporary placement, contract staffing, companies are setting records all across the world at what they're able to do right now. And you might be sitting there going, well, that's not me. I didn't have necessarily the best 2 quarters of my life. That's why I'm doing this call. Because right now, today, before the month of June is over, why don't we decide that this is a life-changing event? That what you're going to do today is not only listen to what I'm saying to you, but you're going to take some actions. You're going to make some changes. See, you're on automatic pilot. Most of us are throughout most of our life. When you woke up this morning, you didn't decide what you're going to do when you hit the shower. You didn't wonder what part of your body you were going to shower first. You didn't wonder how you were going to drive to work. You know, when you got to work, you have a routine. I want to shake that routine up with this call. Whether you're a recruiter, an account executive, a manager, or an owner, if you want different results in the next 2 quarters of this year, you've got to make some changes. So please, as I'm going through this program, if I say something that you just know it's resonating with you, write it down. Because what I would love to see more than anything else is that you pick 6 ideas. You implement 1 in July, 1 in August, and 1 in every month for the rest of 2017. If you do that, I guarantee you will get different results. So when you come back after the holiday, if you have a lump in your throat or a knot in your stomach, you know you're doing something different. If you're comfortable, that means you're not making changes. And if I've learned one thing, you know, in all the time I've been in this business, is that change is happening faster than I've ever seen it before. Owners, your expenses are 5 times as high right now as they were 10 years ago. You know, and so when you stop and think about this, you want to make sure that you're making changes that allow you to stay competitive and allow you to make profits. So let's get into our program. You want to never forget, owners that are on the phone, you've got to understand that you're in business to generate profits. All of you are in this profession to create the lifestyle you deserve. I often say that we are social workers who like money. That's who we are. Most people in our profession, and I've met thousands of you, okay, most of us are pretty nice people. And we want to change the lives of other people, but we also want to live the lifestyle we deserve to live. So are you doing that? You know, when you entered this profession, you were told there's unlimited income. And for the record, your manager or owner don't write your paycheck, you do. And owners, you can't afford to have somebody working for you that's not making money because you're in business to generate profits. And all of you have to embrace the idea of change if you want better results. You can't keep doing things the same way and want things to change. You have to decide today exactly what changes are you making. And they have to be changes that you can quantify, that you can measure. You can't say, I'm going to be a more positive person. Does your attitude impact what you're able to achieve? Absolutely it does. If you walked in the office today and said, boy, it's going to be one of those days, you're going to spend all day proving yourself right. If you walked in the office and said, it's going to be a great day, I'm a money magnet, I can just feel that things are going to happen, you're going to have a very different day than the first person that's going to prove themselves right that it's not going to be a good day. So, you know, your attitude is extremely important, but there's things you can do. There's 3 basic keys for every successful staffing and recruiting firm that I've ever trained for. Number 1, they have an inspired, motivated sales team. If you're sitting there going, my manager, my owner is not motivating me, that's not their job. Any of you that have children, you know you can't motivate another person. You can't do it. You can create a motivating environment, but the staffing and recruiting firms that are going to have a record 3rd and 4th quarter have an inspired, motivated sales team. You also have to learn how to leverage your time and knowledge. You've got the same 168 hours as everybody on this phone does. But why do some people produce over $1 million in direct placement when others are barely breaking $150,000 a year? Or why do some contract recruiters do $3 million in gross margin of profit where some people are barely doing, $500,000? The people that are the top producers are not smarter. They're not better educated. They're not in a different city or in a different niche, okay? But they've learned to leverage their time. They focus on results-oriented activity, and they don't spend time on things that don't make them money. And the last key for a successful firm is consistent, repetitive, comprehensive systems and training. You're in sales. There is a marketing process. If you're in client development, you should have a step-by-step process to develop a new client, a step-by-step process to basically, get more business out of your current clients, and a step-by-step process to retain your clients, to nurture them, and to know everything about them. See, I think on the client development side, you have to become your client's friends. On the candidate side, you want to become their lifetime agent. But I think what really upsets me is when I hear statistics like on the contract side, that less than 7% of contractors redeploy. So you have a contractor, you spent the time attracting them, but less than 7% of them come back to you and get a new contract with you. They go someplace else. Or they go, they accept another contract through one of your competitors. We got to change that. I want you to ask yourself the following questions because your answers are actually going to uncover areas that might need your attention. And so I want you to be honest with these answers. So, owners, if your business had a tremendous influx of orders, say that all of a sudden you got 300 contracts in, 300 job orders, 300 temp assignments, could you hire people without it having a negative impact on your company? Because you'd have to hire. If the influx of orders got to be out of your control, you would have to hire additional recruiters to fill those orders. Could you put them on board? You have a system of training and onboarding where it's not going to have a negative impact on other people in your firm. If something happened to you, if you're the owner or manager of a firm and something happened to you, would your business continue to run? Anybody that's not in management or ownership, but owners and managers, I'm still talking to you, are 50% of your candidates and new clients the result of referrals? Because they should be. It's interesting. Every time I do consulting for an owner, and I do a lot of consulting for owners that want to up their sales because they want to sell their firms. And one of the first things I look at is what is your best source of candidates and clients? And they'll talk about all the paid sources that they use and how much money they're expending on all these paid resources. But when they really go back and they look at where are the best candidates coming from, it's always as a result of referrals. Do you have a referral process? Do you have a step-by-step process? Is there a theme around it? Is somebody in your company responsible for it? How are you marketing this to your candidates and everybody that you know, that they realize the what's in it for them, the referral program? Do you even have a client referral program? We've always gotten referrals from our clients, but the year I rolled out a client referral program, our client referrals increased by over 400% in 1 year. That's not a coincidence. It happened because people do things for their own reasons. So do you. None of you listening to me are going to produce more or have a better third and fourth quarter because your owner or your manager wants you to. It has to come from within you. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to create in your life? What are you trying to do for the people you love? Are you really as successful in this career as you should be? Because 95% of the people in our profession are considered average and only 5% reach big biller status. And I don't think any of us wakes up in the morning and goes, good morning, I just can't wait to be average today. Yet when you go to work, if you're not changing the way you're doing things, you might be in that average category. And your owner or manager can't force you out of there. It has to be something you want. Do you want a new home? Do you want to send your kids to good colleges? Are you saving for retirement? Do you want a boat? Do you want a better car? Because if you really want something, this career can make it happen. There are no limits on what you can do. Owners and managers, I don't think you're ever going to go to one of your salespeople or one of your recruiters and say, no more placements, no more clients. We got enough this month. And you've got to look, are your sales and profits consistently increasing? Because this month, the companies that are doing very well, they've been able to increase sales every single month because we're in a very strong market right now. And again, when it's hard to find candidates, that's when you'll all make the most money. So every time you hear yourself saying that, again, thank God, because if it was easy, nobody would need our services. And that's why, it's so important for you to be happy about the marketplace. Now, it's not enough to just want better results. I think everybody wants better results. You must make changes to make it happen. And are you willing to pay the price? Because if you're going to become a top producer, and I've actually said this to people at conferences, I'll see a direct recruiter that's done $300,000 for 4 years. And I go, you could increase your stats by 10% and increase your production by 20%. You could do $500,000 very easily. And you know what I hear back? Yeah, but if I do that, then my owner is going to expect it. Then my manager is going to expect it. That person has not equated the increased production to the impact on their life. Think for a moment, if your income increased by 50% in the next 2 quarters over what you made in the first 2 quarters of this year, how would your life change? When people say you can't be that money motivated, money has the biggest impact on your life next to good health. Money impacts your life more than anything. Money gives you choices. If you have money, you have choices. If you don't have money, you don't have choices. You're very limited. But are you willing to pay the price? If you're one of those people that say at 5 o'clock I'm done, you're never going to be one of the overachievers in our business, because candidates want to talk to us at night, especially if you're in the IT or engineering niche. I was at a technology conference filled with .NET developers and Java people and all the people that IT firms are trying to attract. And what they said to me was, these idiot recruiters call us during the day. My boss is 2 feet from me. My coworkers are right around me, and they expect me to talk. And then they're going to say I'm rude or I hang up on them. Of course I do. I'm not going to jeopardize my job. But if they called me at home at 6 o'clock, I'll take their call. Remember, over 80% of people are not happy at their jobs, but they need to talk to you when they can talk to you. So that's part of the price. Are you willing to prep at night? Because prepping is not you talking and them listening. Prepping candidates is role playing. Are you willing to start planning every day? Or do you walk in the office and then decide what you're going to work on? Because if you don't have every single phone call that you were going to make today planned last night, you've wiped out 90 minutes of your day just trying to figure out what you're going to do. So I'm going to give you some specific steps that are going to help you obtain better results, but it really does start with what's going through your mind right now. As I just said these things, what were you thinking? Were you thinking, you know what, she's right? Or were you thinking, I don't want to work after 5? Maybe I don't want to pay the price. It's not enough to just want to earn more. Your prosperity, your solid future cannot be based on the fact that you buy a lottery ticket every Saturday and then you're upset Sunday when you don't win. You don't have to buy lottery tickets. This career is your lottery. There's no limits on what you can do in this career. And yet so many people, they earn more than they've ever earned, but they're not earning near what they could earn in our profession. Again, there's no limits. You write your own paycheck. Now let's start with step 1. I'm going to give you some specific steps right now. Remember, write down exactly what you need to know, okay? What's resonating with you? What do you know you're not doing? Because this is one of the most important things. You've got to know your stats and ratios, because if you don't know your stats and ratios, you have no clue on what results you need daily in order to hit your goals or consistently hit or surpass your goals. You should never have a slump. You should never have a bad month, because if you're hitting your stats that you need daily, you'll get the results you need. But you have to know your numbers. If you don't know that there are 19 working days in the month of July, if you don't know that already, then you're not managing yourself by numbers. And that's if you're closed on the 3rd and 4th. Even being closed on the 3rd and 4th in the month of July, there's a starting Monday. So there's still 19 working days. And the reason I know that is because we run our organization by numbers. If you don't know how many working days are in a month, you're not really monitoring yourself by stats. And I'm not saying to take your production that you want to earn, that you want to produce in the month of July and divide it by 19 days. I want you to know how many send-outs do you have to book, how many first interviews between a client and a candidate, either phone, face-to-face, or Skype, or however you're doing your interviews. How many do you have to book before someone's hired? If I have to book 7 interviews before somebody's hired and I want to make 2 sales a month, I've got to book 14 interviews, don't I? You've got to know the exact numbers. If you don't, you might as well go to Las Vegas and spin the crap wheel, because you don't know what to do every day. And let me give you an example, and I'll use easy math. Say that I have to send out 5 people before somebody's hired, and I want 4 closes this month. I want to place 4 people in jobs this month. And I know if I set up 5 first interviews, that one of those people is going to be hired. But then I also know, because I monitor my stats, that I have to interview 3 people in order to send 1 out. I know that when I interview 3 people, I'm going to send 1 out, and I have to send out 1 every day. So that means I have to do 3 interviews a day, or 15 in a week. Now, if I have to do 3 interviews a day, I'm going to book 5, because you and I both know they don't show up or something comes up. So I'm going to book 5 to make sure I do 3 interviews a day. But if it's Tuesday and I've only done 4 interviews, I've got to make up 2 interviews, because I was supposed to have done 6 interviews already. Every day, if you don't hit that number, if you don't do 3 interviews today, you do 2, then you got to do 4 tomorrow. If you hold yourself accountable for specific results, you'll never have a slump. You will always hit or surpass your goals. The problem is most people don't know their numbers. And by the way, we're the only profession that doesn't know their numbers. They're salespeople. You ask an insurance person their numbers, they know it. You ask a car salesperson their numbers, a realtor, they all know their numbers. And I could be in front of 1,000 recruiters at a conference and nobody knows their send out to placement, their job order to fill, their interview to send out. Nobody knows those numbers. You got to know your numbers. And owners, you've got to know everybody's numbers and tie their goals into what's important for them. You've got to find out what the people that work for you are trying to achieve. What do they want to buy, do, go? What are they trying to achieve? Okay? And tie the goals into what's important to them and create contests where you need improvement. So if you want to improve the send out numbers, bonus send outs. And to me, send out is the number. As an owner, when I had multiple offices, that's the only number they called into me from all my offices daily. I wanted to know how many first interviews were booked because that's the key to everything. Everything else we do is busy work. Our job is to get our candidates in front of hiring authorities. That's our job. And I only count first interviews because I want constant first interviews. If you want a hint right now, you want to have a better third and fourth quarter than you did first and second, increase the number of first interviews you book every month from now to the end of the year. And managing by numbers is going to show you exactly what you have to do. Step number 2 is you have to have minimum standards of performance. You've got to review standards at the beginning of the year, and you should have daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly standards. And again, I don't think any of you want to be average, and yet so often goals are set, standards are set, but nobody's hitting them, and there's no consequences. There have to be consequences if standards of performance aren't hit. You've got to hold yourself accountable. The one challenge I have for all of you is I want you to go back to January and write down what you said you were going to produce in January through the end of June, and then write down the number that you produced. Hopefully most of you have achieved it. But if some of you haven't, minus what you did from what you said you were going to do, divide it by 6 and add it to the last 6 months of this year, because I don't want you to give up your dreams halfway through the year. When you set your goals at the beginning of the year, I don't want you to give up those goals because you still can achieve it in the last 2 quarters of this year. Don't ever be satisfied with mediocrity or average. And don't say, well, I'm so far behind now, I can never make it up. Of course you can, because you're going to make changes. And now once you know your numbers, it's no longer a crapshoot. You know what you have to do every single day. Step number 3 is share written expectations. You should be giving your client and your candidates written expectations. This is what you can expect from me. This is what I need from you to find you a job. This is what I need from you to find the talent that you want to hire. And the reason you're going to give them written expectations is all of you are different. I have a couple hundred people on this line, okay? Every one of your firms are different. We used to be cookie cutter. We're not anymore. And candidates are confused, clients are confused. I know that because I do calls for job seekers every week. I did one yesterday, and they complain about us all the time because they don't know who I am. And I'm always having to educate them on how to work with staffing and recruiting firms. And I'm speaking in front of audiences of clients, and quite frankly, they're all confused. If you give them a list of expectations that's a differentiator right up front, this is what you can expect from me. You're showing them all that you do to justify what you charge. And this is what I need from you to either find you a job or find the talent you're going to hire. And team expectations. Those of you that are recruiters, you should be providing leads, sales leads daily to your client development team. Sometimes you don't have that antenna out there. Candidates are telling you where they've interviewed. You've got all this inside information on all their past employers. And that's why sales, you've got to share your targets with the recruiters. So if they interview somebody out of a company you're targeting, they can give you inside information that only a past employee can give. You are on the same team. And the day that you all realize that, the day that you realize sales and recruiters are on the same team, is the day you all start making more money. Sales executives, you can't go out there and write purple squirrels and then come in and expect your recruiters not to roll their eyes. You guys have got to give each other leads. Recruiters, let your salespeople know what companies are the hot companies that your candidates want to work for. But again, you have to have expectations in writing so there's no confusion. It just alleviates confusion. Step number 4 is leverage your time. 20% of what you're doing is giving you 80% of your results. What is your 20%? Every week, in fact, what I would like all of you to do by the end of this week, go from January 3rd to the current time, till Friday, and ask yourself, what have I done right these last 6 months? What have I done right? What is my 20% that makes 80% of my sales? And then how am I wasting time? Am I talking to candidates I'm never going to place? Am I being controlled by those incoming calls, those update calls? rather than my outgoing? How am I wasting time? Am I not planned? If you're not planned, you're not controlling your destiny. The incoming calls are. And what changes are you implementing? And then after you do it this Friday for the first 6 months, do this every Friday. What did I do right this week? How am I wasting time? I'm going to stop doing what's wasting my time immediately, and I'm going to review the change that I'm implementing that month. If you do this for the next 6 months of the year, you're going to hold yourself accountable. You may have a bad week. You'll never have a bad month. You'll never have a bad quarter because you're reviewing yourself every week. Step 5 is you've got to offer consistent, repeatable training. You've got to rotate core materials and the same concepts reiterated. Every one of you has to be doing things the same way. You've got to have standardized procedures. You've got to consistently train seasoned recruiters. I find that so many recruiters in my conferences have 15, 20, 25 years of experience. And the reason is they know that they're going to get run over by their competition if they don't keep changing the way they're working their desk. The only certainty in yours and my profession is things are going to change. The minute you get comfortable, something's going to change. So you can never get too comfortable. Step 6 is you've got to identify mentors, coaches, and accountability partners. Learn from successful people. Identify an accountability partner. It'd be great if all of you, I know a lot of you have an office on the phone, find somebody in your office and you each tell each other what you're going to change in July. And then work on your change for 21 days. And 21 days later, both discuss what you achieved and then talk about the next idea you're going to implement. And if you are serious about having the best 2 quarters you've ever had and at the end of this year, change the 5 people you hang around with most. Now, I had a wealth coach say that to me, and the day he said it to me, I thought he was rude. And I'm like, how could somebody tell me to ditch my friends? You know, my husband accuses me of collecting friends. I have a lot of friends. And I thought this was kind of rude until the guy explained himself and said, Barb, when your best friends, think about who you spend the most time with, not your family, because that's who I spend most of my time with, but your friends. Are you the teacher? Or are you the student? Do you make more than them or less than them? Because if you're the teacher and you make more than them, there's not much they can teach you. You've got to find people that are more successful than you, doing things you've never thought about doing. It's no coincidence that people live in the same neighborhoods, go to the same clubs, go to the same, events, because they want to hang around with like people. If you really want to become successful, find people that are successful, not only in this profession, but who's the most successful realtor, insurance person, banker that you know, and become part of their network. Go to networking events and start hanging around with very successful people, because even people not in our profession can help you achieve more. Because you hang around with successful people, magic just happens. Step 7, improve some of the things you're doing when you're recruiting and selling. Like in recruiting, stop asking people for above average people that they know that they'll refer to you. If you add these 6 words to your recruiting presentation, you will triple the amount of referrals you get. Because when you ask somebody, who do you know that's above average? What do they say? I don't know anybody. Unless they're a troll living under a bridge, of course they do. But if you say, who was the best engineer from your last place of employment? Who was the best secretary from your last place of employment? Who was the best civil engineer from your last place of employment? Whatever title you're recruiting for, they can't say, I don't know anybody, because of course they know who the best person was at their last place of employment. When you're making recruiting presentations, people think you want them to give you somebody at their current company, and they're loyal to that company, and they don't want to give you the names of coworkers. When you say, who was the best, insert the job title, from your last place of employment, watch what happens. You'll double and triple the amount of candidates you get. Also, after every conversation you have with candidates, after your initial conversation, start out every conversation with these words. Has anything changed since the last time we talked? Because things change. Those 9 words are going to keep you ahead of the curve. How many times have you interviewed somebody, and your first interview, they're guarded because you're a stranger they don't know or trust, and then you just take everything from that first interview where they were guarded, and you're basing everything you're doing on that first interview. If you ask people, what's changed since the last time we talked? You're going to be amazed at what comes out of their mouth. On the sales side of the sale, you've also got to improve the way you're doing things. Because again, if you do things the same way, you're going to get the same results. If you want to land new clients, I'm challenging you to contact new prospects 6 times in the next 9 weeks. Because it takes 6 contacts to gain name recognition. If you're only calling a new prospect once a month, they're not even going to know who you are and what you do till next year. Now, I'm not saying call them 6 times in 9 weeks. You don't want to be a stalker, but touch them. Send an email, market a candidate, send them an article of interest. Do all your clients know that you're on a training call right now, learning techniques that are going to better help you serve them? Do your candidates know you're not accessible for this hour because you're taking training that's going to help you better serve them? You've got to always show them why you're the person they should work with. And salespeople, conduct revenue modeling. Go back and don't study the orders and the contracts and the temp assignments you wrote. Go back 2 years and study the business that's filled. Look at the titles, look at the industry, look at the bill rate, pay rate, or salary on the direct side, and figure out what business you bring in that you fill, and put 85% of your sales efforts, your client development efforts, at your best business. This is the one thing, the one change you can make that could have the biggest impact on you, because if you start fine-tuning your niche and you know what jobs to bring in, where you know your recruiters have those people in the database, and the recruiters know what titles you're going to bring in so they can pipeline in advance, that's when you fill a much higher percentage of your orders. You can't work 65 or 70 titles and bring in purple scroll orders and expect your recruiters to cover them. You've got to find out who you are and conduct revenue modeling. If any of you want, I've got a formula that shows you how to conduct revenue modeling. And if any of you want that, send a request to support@staffingandrecruiting.com. I'm going to repeat that. Support@staffingandrecruiting.com, and just put the words revenue modeling in your subject line, and I'll have my team send you how to do revenue modeling on the temp side as well as the direct side. So temp and contract as well as direct. Now, if you're serious about increasing sales, I am going to do one short commercial here. I do have a top producer tutor training program that is a web-based training program that it directly helps increase sales and profits. We offer a free demo. I would suggest you copy that phone number down. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. If you don't have a consistent training program, if training is not best use of your time, because it hurts you every time you hire somebody, we can take training off your desk and do it for you, and it's web-based. And so if any of you would like a free demo, please copy that number down. If I have somebody on the phone that's not an owner manager, please pass this number on to your owner manager, because we would love to provide a free demo for you. People do things for their own reasons and not yours. And so employees are not inspired to work harder in order for the company to hit goals. But you will do it for your own reasons. And so what I want to ask all of you right now, look up from where you're watching this program. Are your goals posted with dated action items where you see them as you work? Because if they're not, this would be something, I don't want this to be one of your 3 ideas. This is my homework assignment for everybody listening to my voice. If you're serious about this, if you truly want to increase sales, profits, and your income, before you get back from the July 4th holiday, I want you to think of 5 non-negotiable goals in all areas of your life. If you upped your income by 50% in the last 2 quarters of this year, where would you go? What would you do? What would you buy? What would you do with all that extra money? And so write down those goals. And goals should be in all areas of your life, not only career and finances, but it could be health. It could be philanthropic or spiritual. It could be education. It could be, anything you want it to be. But write down, if you have the best 2 quarters of your life, what are you going to do? And write down the goal, and then under the goal, put 5 steps. The dated action items, there should be 5 steps under each goal. And as you complete those 5 things, you hit the goal. If you just write 5 goals down, they become New Year's resolutions, and you're not going to do them. So if you really want to commit to this, this is my homework for all of you. Write 5 goals for the last 2 quarters of this year and put 5 dated action items under each goal and post it where you work. If you're an outside sales, have it on the visor of your car as well as in your desk in the office. I want you to read these things constantly because, see, no one has to motivate you when you're trying to do something for yourself or the people you love. And most of us are those social workers who like money, so we're trying to do things for other people. It doesn't have to be necessarily just for us. But if you do this, then you will hit your goals. I want to give you a little bit more information on the tutor that I offer, because our tutor clients have shared the following with me, and I am going to get into more tips how to increase your sales in about 2 minutes. Our tutor clients have said that they could easily add people to their team because the tutor takes training off the desk. Their business was able to flourish. I had one owner that was out for 3 months. His business didn't miss a beat. systems are duplicated, sales and profits increase, and the consistent training help them retain their high achievers. And so, if you've got top producers and you wonder how to retain them, we talk about that a lot in the tutor. And the tutor includes an 80-day curriculum that's just 15 minutes a day. I do webinars like this one every Wednesday. If you were one of my tutor clients, you would get coaching like this every single Wednesday, and then I open the call for your questions. I also do bi-weekly training calls. So if you like the training today, how would you like to get training like this every single Wednesday? And all the calls I do are recorded. So we have a library with 300 webinars just like this recorded. You can take down notes every day, and there's a weekly test that basically ensures that you've retained the information. And on the calls that I do, I've got people from across the world on my calls. So you can hear me answering questions for people all across the globe. And so it really, you're not only stuck in just your office and you're the top producer in your office. So again, if you want us to mentor and coach you to higher levels, please call for a demo, and there's the number. Back to our training. You must work from the same playbook. You can't have everybody in your office set up differently, because if you're all doing it the same way, you're going to improve your referrals because there'll be a process. You'll have a referral process for candidates and a referral process for clients. You're going to set up your business like a franchise. If I go to McDonald's in Crown Point, Indiana, it's the same as if I go to McDonald's in Orlando, Florida. Even when I went to McDonald's in South Africa, it was identical, the same arches, the same menu. Now they called ketchup tomato sauce, and they called a napkin a serviette, but other than that, it was identical. Is your business, if I offered you $5 million and I wanted you to open 3 offices just like yours, and I want you to do it within the next 90 days, could you? If you don't have systems, you can't do that. You've got to implement a repeatable sales process. What is it that you do that results in a placement or a fill? You don't keep reinventing the wheel every time you're working on a deal. If you have things happen, no shows, no starts, counteroffers accepted, you're missing something. Don't point the finger at your candidates or clients. You're missing something if it's happening over and over again. You've got to improve that gap in your process. And if you're all working from the same playbook, you should be able to overcome any and all objections. At conferences, I put a $100 bill on the podium, and I tell everybody in the audience, give me an objection that I can't overcome, and the money is yours, and no one has ever gotten it. You've got to welcome objections. Objections are buying signs. They're requests for more information. I have clients tell me all the time when I'm in front of those audiences, we can give the same objections to recruiters, and if we give one of the 3 objections, they hang up and they never call us again. So how bad did they want our business? Or candidates say, I just tell recruiters, I'm not looking, I'm not interested, I don't know anybody, and they just go, okay, bye. See, when you get an objection, you can either overcome the objection and get results, or you hang up and and you make another phone call. Now, obviously, there's no profit, there's no value in getting an objection and hanging up. You've got to overcome the objection, because when someone's still talking to you, that's a buying sign. They want to know how bad you want to represent them, how bad you want their business if they're the clients. I want to give you some final tips to increase sales and profits. And remember, my goal is that each of you leave this with 6 ideas, okay? And so I'm trying to give you as much as I can so every one of you can take something from this. Know why somebody should use your services. It kills me when I'm in front of an audience and I go, why should I use you? I'm the perfect client. Say something to me that nobody else in this room can say. Because you know what clients say? That we all say we're different, and when they ask us how we're different, we all say the same thing. We specialize in a niche. We've been in business X amount of years. We're local. We have an established network of candidates. We thoroughly interview and test. They go, isn't that what we're paying you for? Why do you think that's different? And if I'm your perfect candidate, why should I give you my resume or CV? It's not because you specialize in my niche. You've got to know why. Why should somebody really use your services? And it really comes down to your track record. How many clients just like me have you placed people with that are just like the people I need to hire? Or if I'm a candidate, how many people just like me have you placed in jobs in the last 90 days? Clients want to know how long the candidates you've placed have been retained. They don't want your pitch. They don't want the WWD, what we do this, we do that, we do that. They're not even listening. We sell too fast. You've got to uncover problems, ask questions. The most successful people in our profession are the people that ask the best questions. And you've got to focus on what's in it for me of the other guy. Every time you talk to a candidate or you talk to a client, imagine they have a big tattoo on their forehead. What's in it for me? And everything you say to them has to show what's in it for them to do business with you. What's in it for them to return your call? What's in it for them to talk to you in the first place? Don't do we do this, we do that, we do this. And owners, if your website is WWD, people are clicking on and off your website in 7 seconds. Your website has to be responsive and it has to be very what's in it for me, showing the other person how they benefit. Have a free white paper they can download so you can capture email addresses. You've got to be predictable and consistent in the way you work with people. And if you're comfortable where you are, you've got to reset your financial thermostat. You're not going to pay the price and get uncomfortable and make changes if you're happy where you are. You know, and think of a thermostat in the room. If it was really hot outside and I opened the window, the room would get hot, but the air conditioner would kick in and bring the room to 70. If it's 70 in the room and it's winter and I'm in Chicago and I open a window, it's going to get really cold. But the thermostat will kick the heater in and it'll bring the room to 70. So you have that thermostat too. What is yours set at? Your thermostat is usually set by parents, grandparents, teachers. You know, if you want more, you've got to set it up and there's a price to pay. Also, are you really nurturing and touching people after you place them? There's some ways to automate. You can use autoresponders. There's many things you can do that can enhance your touch system, but you can't place people and forget them. You can't place and forget them. And the clients don't like when you're not getting feedback. You know, they don't feel like you care. They feel like the only time you talk to them, and think about that, is the only time you talk to your clients when you're making money on them? Because if that's the case, you're not really a trusted advisor. You're not a consultant. You're making money off of them, and that's why they view you as a vendor and they treat you like a vendor. If you want to, if you want to elevate the relationship, you've got to elevate what you're doing, and you can't only talk to people when you're making money on them. I want to give you the common denominators of the most successful people in our profession, because there's no secret. Every day they know what they're going to do the next day. What are the 6 things closest to the money? Very specific things that they commit to achieving the next day. What are the 6 things closest to the money that I'm going to do tomorrow? You know, booking send-outs, debriefing, prepping, writing additional orders, interviewing specific candidates, presenting on existing jobs. Those are all things close to the money. It can't be, I'm going to recruit for a civil engineer, because that could be something you do all the time. If you're writing something down like that, says, I will recruit 3 civil engineers tomorrow. And whatever you write down, you can't leave work till you get them done. And the interesting thing about this is if you don't have 6 things closest to the money, then you know you have to market or recruit, because you've got to get things close to the money. You want to plan 100% of your outgoing calls for the following day. If you're not a planner right now, you can't wake up tomorrow and plan 100% of the calls. It's too big a lift. But write down the 6 things closest to the money in 10 calls. And then in August, write down the 6 things closest to the money and 20 calls, until every day of your life you're writing down the 6 things closest to the money that you commit to doing tomorrow and all the calls you're going to make. You've got to focus on the 5% of the candidates you will place. We only place, as an industry worldwide, we place 5% of the people that we attract, and yet how much time do you waste daily giving free advice and taking incoming calls from candidates you will never place? It's easier to take an incoming call and an update call or a status call, but it doesn't make you a dime. Provide them with resources and focus on the candidates you will place. In fact, I created a career portal for the candidates we don't place, because quite frankly, I knew that my recruiters were spending an average of 90 minutes a day talking to candidates they're never going to place. And most recruiters, most of the companies that have studied this, because I've sold my career portal to many staffing and recruiting companies, and they find the same thing. When they put the career portal up, their recruiters have an additional 90 minutes a day, because they send the 95% to their resource and they focus all their time on the 5% they're going to place. Also, I want all of you to do something. As an office, I want you to review the amount of time you're spending on each one of your clients. What is the percentage of time you spent on every client from January through the end of June? And then I want you to look at the percentage of the revenue that the clients generated. Sometimes you have a very high maintenance client that is taking up a ton of your time, and the amount that they're generating in revenue is not near the amount of time, the percentage of time you're spending on them. And this should be equal. If I get 10% of my revenue from one of my clients, they're going to get 10% of my time. And so sometimes you're spending too much time on people that are not making you money. And by the way, A client is somebody who impacts your income. It's not somebody who gives you business. They impact your income. And so if you want to have a better third and fourth quarter, look at this. What percentage of time are we spending on every client, and what percentage of our revenue do they generate? That'll show you where you should be spending your time. Might not be your favorite client, but if they're generating revenue, that's where you need to spend your time. So let's kind of summarize it. Timing is everything in what we do. We all know that. It's very important. So what are the keys for success in the last 2 quarters? If I had to summarize and just give you some really strong tips, increase send-outs, counting only first interviews, increase send-outs every single month. Every single month. If you increase send-outs, that's first interviews booked between a client and a candidate every month, you will be more successful. Focus 85% of your time on best business. Again, if you want to know how to do revenue modeling, send a request to support@staffingandrecruiting.com, and I will show you how to do revenue modeling. I'm also going to send every one of you a recording of this call. So if you've got people in your office that are not here, I'm recording this for all of you. And since you registered for the webinar, I'll just make sure that we send this recording out to all of you as well, because I know I covered a lot in this call. Implement one change every 21 working days. Replace some of your old habits with new habits that are going to give you better results. Because if you implement, the ideas that we've shared in this webinar, and again, I know, people say that when you're trained by me, it's like drinking from a fire hose, because I'm trying to give you so much in one call. And the reason I'm doing that, I don't know which one idea could change your life. I became a trainer for one reason, so you could make more money. That's why I train, okay? And so I don't know which idea is going to resonate with you. And so that's why I want you to, go back and look at what you wrote down. We will send you the recording. You'll have it, when you get back from the holiday, you'll have the recording of this call, but you've got to implement something. It's not enough just to show up. Now you got to do something. I love Nike saying, just do it. Figure out what you're going to do. And again, if you're serious, anybody that walks in after July 4th and posts their 5 goals with 5 gated action items, I would take you seriously, because you put yourself out a little bit and you took the time to actually write down what you're trying to achieve. Because again, you're only going to get more successful for your reasons, not because I'm an owner and I want you to do it. One last fact. 100% of our tutor clients who utilize our program have replaced old habits. They've made subtle changes that provided almost immediately results, and they increase their time management. Again, if you would like a demo of our program, we do have some special bonuses we're going to offer for anybody that invests in our program by the end of July. So if you're interested in at least looking at this, please call for that demo. Now the most important part of this phone call. Do you have any questions? I do want to open the lines. I know that we've already taken 45 minutes of your time, but if any of you have any questions for me, I also want to open the lines just for a few questions. You can ask me questions one of 2 ways. When you called in, I gave you a telephone number, an access code, and a PIN number. If you put those 3 numbers in, you can go to the attendee list, click on that little hand. I can unmute your lines and you and I can talk. Or you can go down below and there's the word questions. If you don't want me to use your name, I will always use a person's first name. If you don't want me to use your first name, then just put anonymous or confidential. Okay, I've got, this is confidential. What kind of incentive do you offer a client for referral? We donate $1,000 to their favorite charity. And we realize because owners can't get gifts, Sarbanes-Oxley and all the rules against taking gifts. So for the client side, we donate to their favorite charity. But guess what? Their favorite charity could be their kids' Little League team. It could be their church or their synagogue, so people love that we donate. And we donate, a referral is somebody, like if they give us a client referral, then the client, we've written business with them, we've filled the business and it's past our guarantee period. So you've got to put some parameters around it, and so you've got a class, it's not just a referral, it's a referral that hires, and you only pay the referral fee on the first hire. So it costs you, and if you're doing like light industrial temp or lower level placement, you might not want to pay $1,000 for a client referral, but what is a client life relationship with a client worth? It could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's see, what is the best strategy to approach the passive candidate? The best strategy to approach passive candidates is that you've got to sound different than other recruiters, and you've got to find out what they want to do next. You can't assume that they want to do what they're doing now. They don't like when we call them with a specific job. We can use it as a sampling but interview them and find out what they're doing now, and then what do they want to do in their next job. And really the best strategy to get them is just to, I believe in direct recruiting calls. You can connect with them on LinkedIn. You can do a lot of things. You don't have to make cold calls anymore. There's so much information. And again, the best way to get passive candidates are referred candidates. Really beef up your referral program, because referred candidates, you don't have that long period of time, that you're trying to develop rapport and trust. They trust you because they trusted the person that referred them. So if you're having trouble getting passive candidates, really spend time on improving your candidate referral program. This is from Lynn. I'm finding the candidates have been getting salary increases, promotions, and changed jobs in the last 6 months. They're happy and don't want to move. I have seen this pattern over and over again. What can I do to catch these candidates? You can't. If they've gotten a salary increase and a promotion and they've just changed jobs in the last 6 months, they're not going to change. But who was the best person just like them at their last place of employment? Use them to get names, and then put them in a database and send them an article of interest with a good subject line so they open it, and a list of all your jobs every other month. So you keep your name. You're creating top of mind awareness. So they're not ready right now. Timing's not right for them. Remember, when they say no, they're saying not yet. Every client would need your service. Every candidate would need your service. Timing has to be right. If I just changed my jobs in the last 6 months, got a promotion and a raise, I'm not going to go with you. But I sure can give you the names of other people and tell me about your referral program. And let me know that there's something in it for me to refer people to, and use those words from your last place of employment. This is anonymous. Do you believe in having recruiters do both sides, sales and recruitment? We've had trouble hiring people who do both. Usually we get recruiters resistant to do sales or MPC, even though they say something different during the interviewing. I would say that there is a big move to separate the two out. There are still firms that do both sides, okay, that have one person doing both sides. Most firms have one person doing client development to every 2 or 3 people that are doing recruiting for that client. In my organization, we have one person doing client development. We assign a recruiter to them the minute they hit a certain level of production, whether it's gross margin of profit or direct placement, and that recruiter does nothing but recruit on their orders. When they retain a certain level, we add another recruiter into the mix, and we start building a 4-top. We call it a production pod, where they're all working together, and they all know the clients, they all know the candidates, and it works out very well. But, it's a decision you have to make as an organization. I know many people are splitting it out because often people that are great at recruiting don't like the sales part of it. And people that are good at sales don't like the recruiting part about it, even though recruiting is sales, but they don't want to do the day-to-day sales. Okay, no question. Just a quick thank you for another great training. Can't wait to implement new best practices. Really like the revenue modeling. Well, good. I'm glad you liked it, Nick. I appreciate that. How many interviews on average does an employer client need? I always say when you take a job, you should be getting 3 to 5 interviewing times and a target date to fill. If they're doing more than that, then you're not presenting how we work. We don't want to give them masses of people. We want to get it down to the top 3 candidates to save them time and money. And your expectations should cover that. We are so small that full desk is necessary. And I'll tell you what, Greg, I would say about 40% of the firms, maybe 35 at this point, have people working a full desk. I worked a full desk my whole career, and a lot of people do it very successfully. And you're right, it's the larger organizations that are splitting it out. If you're a small firm, you can't afford to do it, and it's still, people can work both sides. But what you might do, Greg, even if you're a small firm, you might think your next hire, just hire a pure recruiter that is going to back up the people in your small firm that are doing both sides and see what happens. So consider just hiring a pure recruiter, your next hire, even if you're a small firm, and see if you have one person doing that, if that doesn't help the full desk recruiters, where they can have more time freed up to do client development because they now have somebody helping them recruit on their orders. So maybe that could be your next hire. Okay, I'm getting a bunch of thank yous for everybody, and understand what my thank you is. I have 2 favors to ask of you. I really want to encourage many of you to do the demo of my product. I don't do sales calls often, but I'm telling you it works. 100% of our clients have increased sales and profits, so I know it works. Number 2, please send me your success stories. I love to hear what works. So if you came on this call, I offered you the training free. I would love to hear what you did, what idea you implemented, and what was the impact on you. And you can send your success story to support at Staffing and Recruiting as well. We love to highlight you on our websites. We love to hear what you're doing and what's working. And as a trainer, if you've got any feedback for me, I love to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. Anything I could have improved, what you liked best, what you didn't like best. If you give me feedback, it helps me plan what the next call is that I'm going to do. So I'm glad that all of you showed up. I hope that a bunch of you do the demo. I wish all of you the highest level of success, but remember, nothing happens. It's up to you. You're the one that can implement the change. What I do is not powerful. It's your implementation of what I teach. That's where the power lies. So thanks everybody for joining me. Good luck. Have a great holiday weekend. And I look forward to hopefully talking to you in the not too distant future. Thanks.